Hi, this is Marcy here at A Scrap in Time. We are going to get ready to get our banner started so that you can put it up to decorate with. You should have in your kit all of your pre-cut pennants. You will want to start and alter them red and white, red and white. If you have a gold kit, you're going to want to start with red. If you have a silver kit, you're going to want to start with the white pennant. I did take my pennants. Mine are already pre-inked except for one of them. I used the alcohol ink dabber in silver for the silver one, and then it's also available in gold. If you have a gold one, you're more than welcome to use gold or silver. Any type of stamp pad or anything like that will do just the same. I just found that the color was better in this one. I liked the color from the dabbers rather than an ink pad. And you'll just want to run it along just to give the edges of your pennants a little bit of sparkle and shine. And you're just going to run it along just like that on the edges. And I went ahead and I did that on all of my pennants already except for that one so that I could show you how that was done. And so starting with the white one, we're going to take our reindeer. And you should, you'll have... Okay, so I did use a lot of hot glue on a lot of this because that's the only way, unless you want to sit and wait on zip dry or regular glue to dry. But for your reindeer, you're going to want to take your pop dots, and what I did was adhere a little bit of hot glue onto my pop dot because of the glitter on the reindeer. Just the regular adhesive from a pop dot's not going to stay on the glitter. So I applied some hot glue onto the pop dot and then put it onto my reindeer, and then peel the sticky back off the back of your pop dot and then adhere it to your pennant. And then you just stick it on. And you may find you have a little bit of trouble with getting it on because of the bells on them, and you'll just have to maneuver it around. And then you're going to take, in your kit you should have had just a few little things of pine needles, and you're going to take those and just stick a little bit of hot glue on them and stick them back behind the reindeer's neck, however you'd like it to be. I did it on both sides. It adds just a little bit of a pop of a color out there. And then we'll put that one off to the side. I just like to go pennant by pennant, that way I know I've got everything done in order. And then you should have all of your letters in your kit. You received them separate. I have mine already pre-adhered to each other, but you're going to have your black and your gold or your silver. And you'll just flip your foil paper over and put a little bit of adhesive on the back of it. And then adhere it the best you can to the shadow of the black. Just like that. And then we will take our next pennant, and then you will have received pre-cut circles that are embossed with Tim Holtz embossing folders. These are different Christmas ones that he had. For me, I used, once again, the alcohol paint dabber in silver for this one and gold on the other one. You're more than welcome to use ink pads, but I just got a better effect with this one. But I am using the Tim Holtz alcohol ink applicator with the foam blending tool on it. I like the effect of that better than just using a regular ink pad. And you just take it, and you'll just kind of lightly rub it across the top of your embossed circles, and it's going to give you that raised look so that you can see that it is embossed. And then I went ahead and went around the edges just a little bit to give it an extra little shine around the edges. And I would prefer to, if I were doing this myself, I would go through and do all of my inking at one time So we're going to go ahead and I'll show you. With the white one, I did use, on top of the red, I used white, and I used the Colorbox Pigment Brush Pad Frost White. And I just took my blending tool and dabbed it on the top, and then kind of just, I like to rub off just a little bit of what I put on there so it's not so bright and vibrant. It just needs to give just a little bit of an accent color to it. And so we'll have all of our, if you start doing all that, you'll have all your circles ready so that when you get to each pennant, you'll have your circles ready to start getting those put together. For this part, I did just use regular, whatever your adhesive choice is, and put your circle on there, and then you're going to take your letter. And once again, I use pop dots. That's up to you, your choice on how many you put on there. If you choose not to do it at all, it just gives it a better 3D effect if you've got a little bit of pop dots put on there. Once you've got that on the B, we're actually going to use your, okay, for this one, we're going to take, you have your, I like to call them holly berries with the little sparkling. You're going to need to use your wire cutter for this one. We're going to take the silver ones. And you've got plenty to use for your pennant, for your whole banner, as many as you want to use. I'm only going to take about 3 of them and go ahead and snip it off, and depending on, you know, you just need to make sure you've got a good set of wire cutters because it can get tough to do. And then we're going to take just a little bit of our garland, and you're going to put that in there and just take a little bit of hot glue and put it on your garland. So you have pretty greenery with your little sparkly holly berries. And then you'll take your coordinating ribbon and just tie a simple little knot just to give it an extra sparkle. And it's going to help cover up where you use the hot glue too, because you don't want to have all your glue hanging out. And then I like to go in and just snip off the bottom portion of your greenery so that you don't have any extra showing there. And then you'll just play around with it till you like the way your ribbon looks. And I like to do a little bit of a triangle on mine just to give it a finished look rather than straight across. And a lot of people like to take, depending on what type of ribbon you have, you can take a match or a lighter to the edges of it so that it doesn't unravel. But this is wired, so it should be pretty good and it shouldn't unravel too much like a grosgrain would. And then you're just going to take your hot glue. We've got it stuck on our pennant. And you'll just take your hot glue gun, adhere enough glue on the back, and then just add it right onto your pennant. And so we've got the B done. And just make sure that when you're pulling your pennants that you're pulling alternating colors, because you would hate to end up getting to the end and realize that your colors weren't the same. So on the white one you're going to take a red circle. And then once again with your pop dots, And then for this one, and you're more than welcome to switch up what you put on each pennant to your liking. For this one, we're just going to add the poinsettia with a little bit of the holly leaf on it. We'll just go ahead and glue our poinsettia down, and then we'll add the holly leaves behind. And of course, with hot glue, you're always going to have a little bit of stringiness, and just kind of keep it under control so at the end you just don't have a lot of glue strings. And then just stick that greenery back there in the back just for an added pop of color. I like to go around and glue down some of my leaves because of the way they pop off. I don't necessarily like the look because of on the back of the flower they've got the stem poking off. And so you can just go around and add a little hot glue to the bottom of some of the petals so that it holds it down in a different way. And then that finishes off your next one. And so once again, the same thing. With your letters, your pop dots. And then for this one, we're going to take a mix of the colors of your little shimmery holly berries. We're going to do the red and the silver or the gold, whichever kit you got. Take about 3 or 4 of them, but once again, you can, you're going to have extras of these, and you can put as many in it as you would like. And you're just going to snip them with your wire cutters. I just made a pile of them. And then you should have gotten a strip of little holly pre-wired garland. And I went through and got my berries put together the way I liked them first and kind of get them glued together. And I generally like to just start with the longest one. And a lot of times you can trim them off of there in a cluster, but this time they just didn't work out that way. But you're just going to glue them however you want them, whatever makes you happy, because this is all about really making it unique to your style. And then we're going to take all of your different greenery and just kind of weave it in and out however you would like it to look, but making sure that you can still see your berries and that the color comes through. And so it just takes a little bit, and everything's wired, so it just kind of weaves in and out. And then you just go on the back. I got mine set up just well enough that the colors shine and you can see a little bit of the hollies. And then just take your hot glue and put a little bit on the back. And then once again, we'll put our circles on, and you can, work however you'd like. If you choose to go through and put all your circles and letters on first and then go through and get all of the extra little embellishments put on, that's up to you. And then for this one, we're just going to take a little bit of the red sparkly ribbon, And I just start and I just put a little bit of hot glue down on my pennant here. And then put it here. And you don't necessarily have to make sure that it doesn't go over the edge here because of the tinsel that you're going to be putting on to hold your banner together. It's not going to make much of a difference if it's not exact. But you can run and then get it adhered. I like to leave just a little bit of the white with the silver showing, just to give it that added pop. I am going to go ahead and trim this end off because it is a little extra long. But once you get the tinsel on, you won't notice if you have any extra overhang on that one. Again, we're doing putting our circles on with our pop dots, putting our letters on. And then for this one, we're just going to take either your silver or your gold holly berries. We're just going to take a cluster. 3 or 4 to your liking. And then take just a little bit of your greenery. And you can use a regular scissor on this one. It doesn't have any wire in it. You're just going to clip it to however you want it to look. And then I just went through and just add a little bit of hot glue and go ahead and stick your berries in. And you can always, I just put the silver, I'm just putting the silver in this one, and you can always add more of the red if you want more of the red in there, or however you want to do it. And then you're going to have just a little strip of kind of shimmery iridescent ribbon. And I would cut this one in half because you're going to want to have 2. And I just tied a little knot just to give it a little fluff, and then glue it down. We're going to be adding a pine cone in here, and so it just gives an extra little sparkle to it. And then you're just going to make sure that it stays down, and then just put some hot glue on your silver or gold pine cone and stick it right in there. And then, like, the bottom of this one has just an extra little stem on it, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, just because I don't think they look as pretty if you see the bottom sticking out like that. And then we're just going to take some more hot glue to the back of it. And stick it right there on there. You may have to hold that one down because of all of the greenery. Sometimes it takes it a little longer to dry and stick, so you want to make sure that you hold it down long enough so that it does get time to dry so that it stays on. Got that one complete. Then on the next one, you may have noticed in the preview and looking at different pictures of it that we had a different looking little flower, and I'm going to show you. You're going to have, it's approximately 24 inches, and it's a wired ribbon. And you're just going to grab one end of your ribbon and take the wire out of one side of it. So I'm just going to take this end out, and you should be able just to pull that wire straight out. But make sure you're only doing it in one end. This is going to give us a little bit of leeway. that we're going to be able to make a flower out of just a simple stretch of ribbon. I like to take mine, I folded it in half. The wire is in the bottom one, and you're just going to take a pair of scissors on the side that does not have the wire in it, and you're going to just start, I fold mine in half so I don't have to cut as much, but you're just going to start doing a scalloped edge, and you're going to just keep going all the way till you're finished, because this is going to give the petal effect once we get to the next step to make our flower. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because you're not going to notice, because it is going to be bunched up, but it's just enough to give it a different edge rather than the flat edge. And once again, make sure you're not cutting on the side that has the wire in it, because you're going to need the wire to form your flower. Okay. And then once you've got that done, I like to take one end of my flower where the wire is and fold it over so that I make sure that the wire doesn't come out when I start pushing through. And so I've got one end folded, and then on the opposite end you're just going to take that wire and hold it in your hand, and you're going to just push the ribbon up the wire. And so you're going to start making a gather with your ribbon. And it doesn't have to be perfect length, I'm just trying to make sure that it does kind of lay flat, because then we're just going to make a circle with it, and that's going to form your flower. You can just keep playing with it till it looks the way you want it to look and lays just perfect for you. And it doesn't have to be perfect to anyone else's standards. And then once you've got that done, I go ahead and fold that end in so that when I'm playing with it to make my circle, to get my flower formation, that my wire doesn't come out. And then I just take my wire cutter and cut off the excess wire, and then you're just going to kind of make it a circle. And because on this one we're putting the star in the middle, so what you're going to want to do is make sure that you get your circle small enough that you're not going to see all of the gathering when you put the star in the middle. And so I generally start at the top, so I know that I need it to be that small, and then add a little bit of hot glue and stick it on there so that I get that formed just right. And then I just start circling the rest of it. And you can go through on the back and you start circling. You don't have to hot glue every piece of it, but I like to just do a little dab here and there. That way it holds it and I don't get finished with it and then it just falls apart. And you just keep making a little circle out of it, and you'll have, at the end, you just have a little flower. And so mine went around, it's about 3 times. And it's not pretty. It's a flower made out of ribbon with wire in it. So it doesn't look pretty where you've hot glued and stuff, but it makes a perfect little flower. And then I just go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue right in here. And then take my star and add it in. And so then you have the flower, and you can play with it to make your petals look however you want them to, but so that one is complete. And then you're just going to take your pennant, and then you have a little bit of a little greenery behind it. We'll go ahead and add our letter to this one. And hot glue your flower down. just add in your greenery where you want it to stick out. You may have to play with it and always be careful that you don't burn your fingers. And so that one is done. And then the last one is real simple. We're just adding a little bit of ribbon. And you may need to switch up if you're doing the gold. You may notice that what I've done, you may find that you're putting white ribbon on white paper on a white pennant, so you'll want to switch that around and use the red ribbon if you've got white paper. We just wanted to have a tutorial done, or we wanted to have a display of both the red, or the silver and the gold. And so just snip the end off. I just hot glued that down, and once again I left just a little bit of red on the top to give that added spice of color. And that one is done, except for our letter. So now you should have all of your letters completed, and then on the last one, you're going to have your poinsettia, your gold or silver poinsettia with a little bit of greenery, and the number 25 for Christmas. I just took a little bit of hot glue. You can use regular adhesive or zip dry or whatever you like to use. And I just, actually that one doesn't have a circle on it, sorry. And you'll just put that up in the corner. And they are different sizes. You may notice that they're not the same. That was just an added visual effect that we chose to do. And I still like to put my 5 up just a little bit, just to make it a little bit different. And then you're going to go ahead and put your, this one, for the silver one, you've got an extra, you've got the red flower, another red flower to put on the back of it, and you do that just the same as you did the first one. And you're just going to glue it down. You'll find, once again, with the poinsettias, you're going to have that stem in the back, and so you're going to have to make sure that you do get your petals glued down also, because that stem, the way the stem sticks out in the back, is not going to hold down. And if you trim your stem, though, your poinsettia is going to end up falling apart, because that's what's holding all of your leaves together. So make sure that you don't trim it too short, because then you're going to have just a whole bunch of petals. So I just like to go around and do a little extra gluing just to hold it down so that it's not coming too far off the page. And then you're going to take your greenery and snip it. Some of you may have a smaller set of greenery and you don't have to trim it so much. And then you're just going to stick it in however you choose to. And put as much glue on as you need to get it to stay. And what I love about doing banners is that nothing has to be precise. It's really up to you on how it looks and how you like it to look. It's, you know, there's no precise measurements, except for on the pennants, because you want them to look the same and stuff. But when you're embellishing and stuff, nothing has to be exact. And you just want to keep fixing it until you like the way it's laying. And so we've got that one complete. And then we're going to start with using our little strand of tinsel so that we can get all of our pennants tied together. So you should have received just a long strand of tinsel. I like to take mine, you should have plenty to complete it. I didn't use probably more than 6 inches on each one, so you could trim yours down to 6 inches a piece if you'd like to do it that way. But I like to keep a long strand. It's a little bit easier if you at least have one that's still long. And you're just going to go through the hole on each one. And you're not going to want to pull it all the way tight. I like to kind of keep it where my corners are meeting up, just so it gives it a good enough space apart. And then you're just going to tie a knot, and make sure when you're tying you're not pulling too tight that you're pulling your corners together. That way your banner has a little bit of give to it and it's not just stuck on top of you, so that your pennants aren't laying right on top of each other. So you'll notice that my corners are just barely touching right where we want them to. And then you can take your wire cutter. Regular scissors work on this one too. It's not real heavy duty wire, but you don't necessarily, if you've got really good scissors, don't want to ruin those. And always make sure that you're pulling the right letters when you're putting it together, so that you don't get it put together and end up with something that does not say believe. So you're going to run this one through also. But on this one, this is one that's got, you should have in your kit 2 icicles, either silver or gold. I call them icicles. I know they're just basic little ornaments. And you're going to run it through this before you stick it onto the next pennant. That way it's in there and you're not having to fight later to untie your knots or anything. And so make sure that your corners are meeting up. And you're just going to want to make sure that you've got enough so that you have, like on this one here, you have just a little bit off, and you can make it stick out if you want to, because it does have just a little bit of wire in it, so it doesn't just lay there. And once again, just tying your knots. And just flip it. This one, we're going to take your little present. So you're going to feed it through your L. You may just have to kind of play with it, to decide how much you need specifically for your tying abilities, so that you can get it done. If you get your ends too short, it can get kind of difficult to get them flipped through there. And the tinsel, it's pretty easy to work with, but sometimes you just kind of lose the ends. And you've got that one with a little bitty present hanging. My favorite is the bells. And you should have another strip. If you have a gold kit, you have gold sheer ribbon. On the silver, we just went ahead and went with the iridescent. And this one is just really kind of, I would take about 6 inches. Because you're going to need enough to tie into your bell. Make sure you get it. I would do a knot here so that your bell doesn't fall off. right onto your tinsel. Before you tie your tinsel up, just like you did on the other ones. Once again, make sure you're keeping your pennants far enough apart so that they've got a little bit of room to give. And we've got that complete. Just turn that one up. And then we're going to do another bell on this one also. Once again, another knot. Running our tinsel through. Let's see, just then I forgot, so you just want to go back. Hopefully you'll remember before you get the whole thing tied up, even though because it is wired, it's pretty easy just to take apart and get it back in there. Unlike some other ribbons, once you get it trimmed up, it's really hard to go back and redo it. This one's pretty simple. Make sure that you keep your distance on your pennants again. Once you get going, it gets a little bit easier. And then on this one, you're going to go back to doing a present for this one. And these little strings on the presents are a little bit more difficult to get apart, but I've got it. Again, remember to put your little dangler in before you pull it through the pennant. Got that one done. Banners are pretty simple to make once you get started on them and know what kind of embellishments you want to use on them. Because they're just simple triangles. These triangles are just 6x8s. Just made out of regular cardstock with a little bit of inking on the edge. And then on this one we're going to use the last icicle you should have. And you can always do pennants with patterned paper, but for Christmas, and we just figured it would be simple to keep it with a solid color. So we're almost complete. We've got one last one to put on. And that was just enough. Just the right amount of tinsel to get it completed. That completes your banner. I hope that you enjoy it. You can store it for years to come, and I hope it works wonderfully with your decor, gold or silver. We hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. This is Marcy of Scrap in Time. Thank you so much for buying.